welcome back folks to Dad Joke Dave's music class. And so far in our lessons we've been discussing what a key is, that three-letter word key. What is a key? Well, you know, we open the door. Well, hopefully we're opening some doors here tonight. We've discussed a big part of what a key is the 7 scale chords in that key, and we've looked at some different keys. Yes, we've been transposing, we've been looking at the chords in C and G, and we've transposed to A and so on, and we've been making up chord progressions. Fantastic. I want to just move along a little bit tonight and look at the second part of what I like to explain, what is a key, what is part of the big picture of what a key is, and that is the actual 7 modal scales in any given key. And obviously at the moment we're still focused on major keys, and I've picked the guitar-friendly key of G major, yes? The key of G. And our first mode that we're going to learn in our series is the A Dorian mode. It's mode 2. Why is it mode 2? Because it starts on the second note of the G major scale. G, A is the second note in the G major scale. So I'm going to play a G major scale starting and finishing on A. A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A. Isn't that exciting? Carlos Santana, by the way, is a great exponent of the Dorian. He's made a living, a legend out of this mode and the blues pentatonic, of course. I didn't say that, he did. He found a black magic woman with a Dorian. Anyway, so we're going to come back to our mode and have a little bit of a look tonight at what A Dorian is. And I've written out the notes in the A Dorian scale: A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A. The intervals underneath are the first, the second, the flattened or minor third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the flattened or minor seventh, and the eighth or the octave. Let's have a little closer look at that before we learn more about the sound of the mode. A, of course, is the tonic, the root note of the scale, the first, and A to B is what we call a major second. If you remember back to our lesson on intervals, we talked to Kelly and the guys from Lama, and A to C is a flattened third, just quickly because in the key of A major, A to C sharp is a major third. If you flatten C sharp, you get C, which gives us a flattened or minor third. A to D is our perfect fourth. D is the fourth note in the scale. A to E again is our perfect fifth. A to E is the fifth. E is the fifth note in the scale. Now here's the interesting part of the A Dorian mode. One of the feature notes, as I like to say, is the F sharp. It's a major 6, folks. Make no mistake about this. It's not a typical minor scale. It's a minor scale with a major 6. Alright, so that gives it that sort of little bit brighter sound because of the major 6. Just ask Carlos. And then A to G, G is the 7th note here, and it's a flattened 7th. Why is it a flattened 7th? Well, because in the A major scale, G sharp is the major 7th, the leading note, and there's always a semitone between the 7th and 8th notes. In a major scale, we flatten G sharp to G, giving us what we can call a flattened or minor 7th. So let's recap on that scale then. First, second, flattened or minor third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, major 6, flattened or minor 7th, and then our 8th or octave. So that's very exciting. The chord we can form from that scale going up in thirds. If you relate back to our lesson on chord construction, we construct most of our scale tone chords by going up the scale in thirds, skipping notes. A to C, E, G. A, C, E, G just quickly spells an A minor 7. I can't wait for it. There it is, folks, an A minor 7. And here is the mode, A Dorian, which fits A minor 7 in the key of G. A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A. Wow. I'm just, you know, so I could sit here and just goof around this. People ask me, Dave, what are the lead scales? The answer is very simple. All of them. All of these modes, for example, are all widely used in improvisation, particularly the Dorian. It's crept into rock music. Listen to Slash. You'll hear lots of rock guitarists using the Dorian. You'll hear blues guitarists using the Dorian. And of course, we've got the jazz-orientated players that, you know, this has been a mainstay of jazz music for many, many years. The Dorian's a very popular scale. So it goes beyond Carlos Santana, obviously. So what we're going to do now is have a listen to the mode. Now, the only way I can really pitch and listen and get to know the sound of something is to open my mouth. Now, you probably figured out that I'm not that shy, so I'm going to try and sing the sound of this mode. La, 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 la. Now that's one thing to sing along with the guitar, but if I was to sing along with that, just with accompanied by the chord, la, 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 because it's so important that yes, I got to know how to play that and how to, to play a G major scale and start and finish that on A. But if I know the sound of that mode, then I can start to really work with it. You know how most blues players could sing you a blues scale in their sleep. Well, we've got to get to know this. When I was studying music at the conservatorium, we'd spend 1 month on each mode. You can see how I can combine that with the blues scale. Okay, so that's a few little things that I just made up on the spot there, just combining the Dorian and the blues scale. The A minor pentatonic scale is contained within that mode. If we look at the notes A, C, D, E, G, A, that gives me my pentatonic, which we all know out there. You guitarists have all learned that scale. Okay, so it does have that kind of bluesy sound to it if you want to play it with a blues vibe, but I like to swing this scale a little bit when I use it in improvising. So yes, what we're going to do, get you to do this week is we'll come back with the homework section in a moment, but I just want to play that again, and I want to just give that to you over a few octaves on the guitar. There it is. So listen closely to that. I just started to do some thirds in there. Just playing the thing through in triplets. So what we're going to do is come back with the homework section. I think that's just enough for tonight's lesson. I want you to really think about that it is, once again, to finish up, it's a G major scale beginning and ending on A. What we've done, folks, is created a whole new set of intervals. That's why it doesn't sound like a G major scale. We have a flattened third in this. That's what makes it a minor scale. Okay. Well, I'd like to thank you all for watching tonight. What do you call a drummer who's just broken up with his girlfriend? Homeless. Thanks for watching. Okay, welcome back, folks, to Dad Joke Dave's homework section. And what I'd like you to do this week is to go to our website, which is on the screen, and have a look at lesson 5. You can download the files, which will give you some chord progressions based on the scale chords in the key of G, and you can play your instrument or sing the A Dorian mode over these chords. Now, some of those progressions will be simple, some will be a little bit more advanced, and what's very important is for us this week to hear the sound of that mode and become friends with that sound. So please go to our website and these things will be there for you to download. Okay, have a great week and thanks for listening. Bye.